To all the non-believers. No, I'm joking. Washington beat Cincinnati 38-33. There is a lot of conversation around this game. Obviously, the aftermath. Let me first talk about Washington. Let me get my fandom out the way. Let me get, the praise out. Let me just enjoy myself for a second. I am a diehard Washington fan. Now, yes, as a lover of sports, I do like other players from other teams, but when we talk about fandom of a team, I'm a diehard Washington fan. So I can say with confidence that Washington is living in a realm that we haven't really experienced since RG3. And that is a realm of hope and possibility. We're not, as a Washington fan, I think the question is, what do we expect? And for the longest, there's been a difference between expectations and hope. Every team hopes that their team is good enough to win a Super Bowl. That's the hope. But reality kicks in for a lot of teams very quickly. Like, the reality has kicked in for, let's say, the Tennessee Titans. I'm sorry that they had to catch a stray, but they did. Reality has kicked in very quickly for the Titans. They're not a Super Bowl caliber team. I'm not even saying Washington is a Super Bowl caliber team. But for years and years and years now, that hope turned to reality happened quicker and quicker every year. A lot of times, Washington has been a bottom feeding team for majority of my life. And I am 30. I understand that there was the heydays. There was Art Monk and Joe Theismann and the Fun Bunch, and we have 3 Super Bowls. But I haven't seen Washington be successful in my entire life. I've seen players, like obviously I saw Sean Taylor, rest in peace. I saw Santana Moss. I saw Pierre Garçon, Clinton Portis. I've lived through that, but there's never really been much expectation. And usually our teams, while we have good names and we have exciting names like Deshaun Jackson, there's never really been, the hope was dashed fast. Like, this team is just yet another year. Let me tell you what Washington beating Cincinnati does for a diehard Washington fan. Not just Washington beating Cincinnati, but looking great. And, Jaden Daniels looking great. And him finally connecting with Terry McLaurin looks like. It allows that hope light to stay on just a tad bit longer. A light I can't emphasize this enough. A light that usually turns off maybe after 1 or 2 games. If you had any question about if Jaden Daniels is a franchise quarterback, this game should have told you everything you need to know. Some of the bombs that he hit, some of the smart plays that he did. Jaden Daniels is the real deal. And he is the main reason why Washington is now 2-1. Now, no, we haven't had the toughest schedule, even though the Cincinnati Bengals you would deem as a tough opponent. They haven't had the toughest schedule. They lost to the Buccaneers. They beat the Giants and now beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're 1 or 2 in the division, depending on how it's that. 1 and 2 in the division to the Eagles or with the Eagles. But Washington looked good. And a lot of the conversation around this game is about how Joe Burrow didn't overcome his defense. And how Jaden Daniels essentially did. Because, again, there was no turnovers, there was no punts in this game. Meaning, every single time somebody touched the ball, it was a either touchdown or field goal. So, wasn't no defense doing nothing. But it felt good as a Washington fan to have hope against a team that usually you wouldn't have hope with. Like when you're a Washington fan and you see the schedule come out, and every fan base probably does this, but you say, all right, that's a win, that's a win, that's a win. Ooh, that's probably a loss. That's definitely a loss. When you get to the Cincinnati Bengals, 9 times out of 10, you're saying usually that's a loss. And the fact that we were able to go into Cincinnati and essentially come out with a win, it feels different being a Washington fan right now. And I'm saying this with the utmost seriousness. I don't think Washington is a Super Bowl caliber team. But I do think that Washington is a really good team. Definitely need to work on the secondary. But I do, because Jamar Chase had 118 yards and I think 2 touchdowns. Joe Burrow threw for 324 yards. But in a game where usually going up against something like that, when you go up against a quarterback that's threw for 324 yards 9 times out of 10, Washington's or any team is usually on the losing side of that. And the fact that Washington won, and as we look today on a Wednesday and we have a franchise quarterback, feels good being a Washington fan. Shouts out to Washington. Again, I'm still a realist, but hey man, Washington did what they were supposed to do, so shouts out to them. I'm not here saying I told you so. I'm not here, and I'm not even here saying that I'm going to end up being right. But history will tell you all you need to know about the president. And one thing, and I'm not the originator of this statement. I'm not the originator of this thought, actually. But usually, when you have a loud offseason, that doesn't bode well for the upcoming season. And when a lot of the noise, because there's difference between good loud and bad loud. Like the Houston Texans, even though they did lose, and we'll talk about it later, the Houston Texans had a loud offseason. But I think that they're going to be good. And their loud offseason was acquiring a bunch of good players. The Eagles had a loud offseason, getting Devin White, getting Saquon Barkley. But I think that that's going to be a good loud. Hell, the Kansas City Chiefs had a loud offseason. They were Super Bowl champs. Parade. They did lose some pieces, but you still, But I'll talk about it when I get there. The Cincinnati Bengals had a loud offseason as well. Whether you talk about the Jamar Chase situation, the T. Higgins situation. I don't remember. I think it was Trey Henderson. It was either Trey Henderson or Chuba Hubbard. One of those two, or Chuba Henderson. One of those two threatened to retire. There was they also lost Joe Mixon. You also lost Tyler Boyd. There was a lot of noise this offseason. And if history tells it right, the Cincinnati Bengals season is essentially over as far as getting to the postseason. In the history of teams going 0-3 in the Super Bowl era, only one of those teams have made the playoffs. And that one team, I think, lost in the in the wild card round. And it doesn't help. The things that are helping the Cincinnati Bengals right now is you have Joe Burrow, who, as much as the talk we've heard about whose fault is it or whatever, Joe Burrow has been playing really well, at least these last two games. Jamar Chase has been playing exceptional. T. Higgins played extremely well against Washington. And their division is not looking exactly how we thought we would look. In 3 weeks, nobody thought that the Steelers were going to be 3-0. And the Cleveland Browns and Baltimore Ravens were going to be 1-2. So there's still a chance. And on top of that, the Bengals haven't faced anyone in their division. But when we look at this Bengals team, and we look at how, let's just say, the Steelers and Ravens have looked. And another thing that's helping the Bengals, they have a fairly easy schedule outside of their division. But the thing about a loud offseason is it can distract you from present danger. Present issues. And what do you know? Kind of like the Cowboys, which we just talked about. A lot of the issues that plagued this team last year, while Cincinnati tried to make moves, those issues have come back to bite them royally in these first 3 weeks. Who would have thought that Cincinnati would be in the same boat floating with the Tennessee Titans? And that's it. Is there another? I think they're the only team. I could be wrong. No, they might be the only team. No, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Actually, wait. Did the Jaguars win a game? Nope. 3 teams, I think, right now are 0-3. And a lot of it is because, their defense is so bad. Who would have thought? Damn, maybe you should pay Jesse Bates, who is flourishing in Atlanta right now. It's not looking good. Now, again, there are some things that you can rest your head on and say, all right, well, Joe Burrow's still good. Jamar Chase still good. T. Higgins still good. This offense has been firing all cylinders. But Cincinnati is also a perfect example in the worst way that football is a team sport. I talked about it. I think I might have named the episode maybe 2 episodes ago. Football is a team sport. Because the Cincinnati offense, bro, you threw against Washington, Joe Burrow threw for over 320 yards. And it didn't matter. You have people arguing on Sports Daily TV talking about, did Joe Burrow do enough? No, the defense was terrible. Some of the play calling from Zach Taylor was terrible. That's another thing. There have been questions about Zach Taylor's reign as head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals since the Super Bowl. That hasn't been addressed. Not saying he should be fired or anything. I'm just saying. Yeah, man. Again, brothers, to be a three teams in this league right now that are 0-3, and not one of them is the Panthers. That should tell you everything you need to know, bro. Shouts out to Washington for beating Cincinnati 38-33. A game that didn't see one turnover or punt. Yeah. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.